Welcome to Full Court Magic. This is a new Orlando Magic podcast that we are so excited to bring to you guys. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm Don Strouble. I am the main beat writer for Roundtable Sports for the Orlando Magic. I am joined by my colleague Anthony A., who's done a fantastic job covering the Miami Heat this season, as well as keeping great tabs on the Magic. And we're so happy for you guys to join us. We're going to make this a regular occurrence now, and we have a lot to catch up on. We're nearly 30 games in, and the Magic have been playing pretty well given the circumstances, which we will dive into here soon. But first, we got to talk about the beginning of this West Coast road trip in a game that Orlando seemed like it had a foothold on early, but got away from the team quickly. The Magic last night, oh man, yeah, it was such a crazy back and forth game. I'm over here forgetting the score. I believe it was 125 to 116, but let me just double check that.
126, 150.
126, 115. Thank you, sir. Yeah. This was a game where the Magic, Anthony, they went up early, and it was pretty impressive given every player that they were down. I mean, we're talking about Franz Wagner is still out with a left high ankle sprain that he suffered against the New York Knicks on December 7th. Jalen Suggs, a left hip contusion that he suffered against the same opponent in the NBA Cup semifinal this past Saturday. And then they went into the game without Tristan da Silva, who for the last 2 years has been a very, very key piece off their bench and also in starting roles, and Jonathan Isaac, who are dealing with their own injuries right now. So the Magic have not had a lot of luck with health this season. And though they had a nice start early last night, Anthony Black came out of the gates firing. They gave up a 35-7 run over the last 7.5 minutes of the second quarter. Like, when you do that, I mean, it's going to tip the scales. I mean, they were up 11, I believe, and got down. They went into the break down 14. And that's just the power of the Denver Nuggets and what a championship organization does, especially with Nikola Jokic playing at an all-time high. Jamal Murray's hitting his shots, and they were down a couple guys too, but for the most part, they knew when it was time to lock in, and Orlando got caught on some defensive lapses. They made a comeback because the Magic got down like 21 late. That was a pretty bad deficit there in the third quarter, and incrementally they would just kind of climb their way back in. And it was the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter they made their last final run to cut the deficit to 6. But then I believe Jokic got double teamed, found Cam Johnson in the corner. He hits a 3 to put Denver up by 9 with, like, I believe it's a minute 15 left. Kind of seals the deal, especially with the ensuing free throws afterwards. So, yeah, you can't give up a 35-7 run, my man. That is pretty crazy. What were your takeaways from this loss, all things considered?
You mentioned defensive lapses. I counted like 7 times Jamal Murray was left open in that second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like as someone who covers the Heat and has been a Heat fan for years, I understand Jokic is your main defensive assignment no matter what. I understand it. We faced the man in the finals and we couldn't do jack.
Yeah.
So I understand it. And the difference is you guys have the size. Well, usually your roster has the size for it.
Sure.
But of course, you're down Franz, you're down Isaac, you're down Da Silva, and Da Silva. I mean, he could be a six-man of the year candidate in the future at one point. So it was just frustrating how many times he was left open because it's not like Murray is like a guy who just can hide. No, you know he
Sure.
is. He's a champion for a reason. So when he goes for I believe it was 20 in the second quarter, like that to me was frustrating because it's again, you know what he can do, and yet he's being left wide open on transitions. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a team that puts their hat on the defensive end. So that to me was like it felt like I wasn't watching the Magic that I usually know, especially keeping tabs on the team.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point, and that's something that Magic coach Jamal Mosley brought up in post game was allowing Murray to score in transition, and a big killer too for this team uh in terms of the Magic and their lapses was the two-man game between him and Joker. They just that chemistry is so refined at this point because they've won a title, because they've been on much bigger stages than, and I'm not trying to undermine it, but a game in December. This is all an ends to a mean for the Denver Nuggets, where the Orlando Magic are still ascending and trying to reach that next pinnacle in their postseason aspirations. But yeah, I mean, Murray, I believe he went, yeah, it was like 23 points at the half. He went in with shooting super efficiently. I believe he hit six threes. Like, you can't, like, especially when you're down bodies and you're not going to have the same offensive firepower, you have got to lock down defensively. And Coach Mose has talked all season about guys like this is a team that's so used to injuries that they've kind of coined their own phrase, and that's like playing by committee. Like he uses that term ad nauseum, just play by committee, the next man up. And that mindset is so ingrained in this Magic team, and we've seen them have success down bodies against good teams like Denver. But uh yeah, I keep coming back to that 35-7 run. That is just insane to me. Like that is just complete uh shift of momentum, and that's probably an understatement. But it's one of those things where it was a really tough start to a road trip. And Paolo Banchero said before the game that the team was seemingly excited for this road trip, despite being down Jalen, despite being down Franz. Like they were ready to go. Seemed
Mhm.
like that there was not really any hangover from a disappointing cup loss. Um, but they just ran into a better team right now. And that's not to say that the Magic can't get to that point, but until we see them at full strength and a little more cohesive, they are not the Denver Nuggets. And that's okay. That's okay. Not a lot of teams are right now. That's the
You
reason they're
know,
second in the
also,
West.
nobody just goes into that high altitude and just wins. There,
Sure.
there's a reason that Denver is a different level of home court advantage.
Sure.
There's a reason for that.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. And that was another question that was raised to Paulo pregame. And he's a Pacific Northwest kid. He's been in this league for a while. He's used to that. But he did say, some of the younger guys, they might not be used to that. But he said
Mhm.
we can't use it as an excuse because it doesn't get easier from here. You got to go to Utah. That's up in the mountains. And I
Yep.
know that Denver is the mile high city. But this whole trip kind of like you're going to be, I mean, it's not Orlando, Florida anymore. You're not in the swamp. Like, you're going to be up there. And so that's where that conditioning comes into play. And just, do you have another gear to beat a team like a Denver? Now, I like the chances against Utah because Utah, while I believe they have an impressive roster. I believe Will Hardy is like a very good young coach.
Mhm.
But they're still kind of in that maybe towards the end of the rebuild and developmental stage, but we'll get to them in a second. We'll wrap up here with Denver. Yeah, that's just one of those games where you live and you learn. Maybe if you have a couple extra bodies, you maybe win this game. But real quick, my man, I got to give a shout out to Wendell Carter Jr. That was
Oh
a
yeah.
prime time game from him. I mean, 26 points, 4 of 7 from deep. He was truly playing the role of like a stretch five and really doing well spacing the floor. And I watched this man in practice. He can hit these shots. It's just a matter of does it translate to game time? And he really aided them. And if they could get more of those performances from WCJ, I mean, this is a team that can go really far if he can tap into that potential, now that is still in his prime, but at this point in stage and age in his career, he is a veteran in this league. So,
Absolutely. And also, like when we were back on I genuinely believe, okay, like there's potential here.
yeah.
Obviously, he's shown that he can shoot the three. He's coming off a
Mhm.
year where he didn't do well at all. I think he like shot like 25% ish, something like that.
Yeah.
So obviously not great, but he showed that he showed that he can do it. So
Definitely.
it's great to see that. Okay, it's finally translating to games. Also, like I believe WCJ should get more props defensively for the
Hmm.
season because I feel like like obviously you got Bam, the Bams of the world, you got a bunch of other bigs who are great defensive mindsets, but I feel like Wendell Carter Jr. this season is coming into his own. There's a different feeling with him this year because I remember during the summer there was a bunch of trade him, his contract's too much, and or start Goga instead of him, but I'm happy that the Magic have kept they've stuck to the course on him. So props to him for real.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's one of the guys. He knows Jamal Mosley's system. He's been here for a while. One of the couple of guys who has, and he his presence isn't always going to show up on a stat sheet. People will look at his
Mhm.
career stats and they'll see, oh, he's not even really averaging a block a game or a steal, this and that. But it. Can you be a disruptor when it matters? Can you put a body on a Jokic, a big body, and like Wendell, like he's been sturdy this year. Like I would have to check. But I mean, at least like it feels like every time I'm covering a game, like he's played. I don't know if he's played every single game. I'd have to look, but he's been sturdy for them amid a roster that has dealt with a lot of injuries so far.
He's
And
only missed
so
one game this season.
he's only missed one game. Yeah, he's your Iron Man so far. And so, shout out to Wendell Carter Jr. Hopefully that wasn't just a flash in the pan and it's something that he can build off of because the team will benefit greatly. But yep, I mean that's where we're at, guys. A 126 to 115 loss to kick off this road trip, but that's okay because there's another one coming up. But before we preview Utah, because we're getting this podcast in, like I said, around the 30 game mark or close to it, what in your opinion, Anthony, have you seen from this team? You're 15 and 12, but in your view, from
Mhm.
your eye test, does the team look better than the record? And how have you felt as like a distance onlooker about the Magic?
Definitely better than how it looks because remember it was those first 5 games when Desmond Bain was still finding his way in this offense. So those struggles really translated to losses, which had you guys like at 1-4 at one point.
Hmm.
And then you guys caught a rhythm again. So yeah, the team is definitely better than what it looks. I mean, there's a bunch of teams in the East that the record doesn't really translate because okay, you got Boston at the 4th seed. No one expected that. They expected that this season. You have Toronto who's had a crazy spark this year. Philadelphia right now is above you guys, which I don't believe will last long. And either way, like between 3 and 10, it's a bunch of movement because
Hmm.
everyone has like 11, 12 losses.
Hmm.
So there's so much that can be determined throughout the year. But this team is way better than what it looks. The potential is obviously better than what it can be. And obviously, you want to see this kind of stuff with Franz in the mix and Paulo together, even though that those injuries have been weirdly like one at a time occurring. But I think again, I said this summer I believe this team can go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and
Hmm.
gonna stick by that take. And I think you guys can make a run at it. It's just more so getting more in rhythm and obviously having bodies, just simply having bodies.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great point, and it's a great point that you bring up about the standings. It is kind of a dogfight in the East right now, and no one is particularly great beyond like your New York Knicks,
And
that
Detroit.
and Detroit that have both been playing out of their minds. I mean, Mike Brown and JB Bickerstaff are doing a great job in their respective positions, and but the Magic, I think, yeah, the context is really important, and Desmond Bain becoming acclimated to this new squad. Now, he had a no show last night, 6 points, 3 for 12, over 5 from deep. That was definitely a stinker, but it happens. This is an 82
Mhm.
game season, and that was kind of the mindset he was maintaining early on. Is he's like, I'll find it. And let's not forget, I mean, this man had 3 37-point games in a 6 game stretch. Like,
Yeah,
he's the
we were one
first.
of them. We know.
Yeah, yes, yes, and of course. Um, First player since T-Mac to have back-to-back 37-point games, any player in a Magic uniform, and T-Mac did it over 20 years ago. So Desmond Bane is showing that he was worth all of the draft capital and
Mhm.
moving off of Kentavious Caldwell Pope and Cole Anthony, and kind of restructuring this roster in a lot of ways to fit him into the mold and kind of create. I know the Cleveland Cavaliers like to call it their core four. Well, this is like the Magic's core four of guys. Um,
I mean,
but
Cleveland's going for about they broken up this
Yeah, yeah.
season,
Well,
man.
that's another team that has seriously underperformed, and so the Magic, like there's so much time left, and they really could
Mhm.
get to a point where they are really in the mix in this conference. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that after that rough 1-4 start, they lose Paolo Banchero for 10 games due to that left groin strain. They went 7-3 without him. I mean, Franz Wagner took over. He showed that he could very well be a number one option, just like Paolo can. That's when Desmond Bane started to find his rhythm. Jalen Suggs has been playing pretty well all season. This is kind of what we expect from him, but coming off of, a really difficult 24-25 season. I mean, between the back spasms and the arthroscopic knee surgery, like you would think sometimes guys would come back a little slow or timid. No, he's putting it all out there every night. And it sounds like with this hip contusion, he had been playing through that for a few games leading up to Saturday's semifinal loss to the Knicks. But overall, yeah, I mean, the Magic, they're top 10 in offensive rating and defensive rating. And that is a really good sign for a team last season that just locked down defensively, but a bottom of the barrel offense. And so you can see
Mhm.
where Bane has made a difference. Um, and I think that, yeah, you get a little more healthy and we'll start to see them add more in the win column. But a lot of this is just a reliance on guys that you wouldn't otherwise put in that situation if everyone is healthy. But that's just not the nature of the NBA. It's a long season, as Suggs always talks about. It's grueling, and you just got to take care of your body. And hopefully, especially with their core four of guys, they can get everyone on the floor, building some chemistry. And that way, at least post All-Star break, at the bare minimum, you really start to gain some momentum here.
Absolutely. I know they usually say in the NBA that by December you know what your team is, but
Hmm.
with the Magic, I would not apply that just
Hmm.
because again injuries have occurred like the past 3 seasons for you guys.
Hmm.
So if you just can manage to maintain bodies after All Star break,
Hmm.
then you're fine. You're fine in the East.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. So that I think that's a good, a good way to look at it for sure. To just this is kind of where things are at right now, given the circumstances, and we've seen a lot of growth. I mean that run through the cup was really impressive. I mean, they went like 5-0 into Saturday's semifinal loss and, various bodies down that whole time. So they showed that they can play in high pressure situations. And I think the cup is a good like litmus test to see. It's kind of like the preseason to the playoffs, if that makes any sense. Like you're putting a high pressure situation, but not as much as April, May, and June. But it's a good like starting point, and this team showed that they can compete in something that's more meaningful than just a regular season game. So
I mean, if this was the playoffs, y'all would have swept us by now, given how many times we faced you and dog.
yeah.
Desmond Bain just turns into Ray Allen for some reason. I don't know what we did to him, but hey.
Hey man, yeah, but I mean the Heat have struggled too, I mean Tyler Hero in and out, trying to find his footing quite literally. Norman Powell has been a great pickup, but yeah, it's just a matter of, these two teams. I mean, and we got to consider the Hawks too. Like, I mean, and the Southeast Division is going to be a dog fight the rest of this season. My goodness, like those three teams are going to be battling for the top. All right, so to end this episode, we will move on to the Magic's next opponent, which is going to come tomorrow night in Utah against the Jazz at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope all my Magic fans out there, it's Saturday. hopefully you got Sunday off. Hopefully you had the whole weekend off and you get to tune in for this one and for some late night basketball. This is a Jazz team that, as I talked about earlier, I believe in their coaching. I believe in the roster pieces, but they're young. I mean, we're talking about, a team that just drafted Ace Bailey. They do got a couple vets in there. Kevin Love, he had a good game. I believe it was last week. But still a very young team that has a lot of maturing to do. They're currently 10-16, kind of middle of the pack defensive rating. I would have to look at the rest of their numbers, but what stands out to you about this Jazz team that the Magic are going to have to be cognizant about to make sure that they don't slip in this game?
That depends. Is Laurie playing? Because I'm seeing that he's questionable with a groin injury.
Mm,
He's
yeah.
he's obviously he's obviously a big factor in what they do. I
Hmm.
mean, a big who plays more so the four, can shoot the three very well, can score in the paint at will. I feel like if he's in the mix, then that makes it tougher. But then again, I still believe you guys have the bodies to really make a match out of this. And if he's not in the mix, it's Keontae George. He's having a
Yeah.
great year. He's been scoring the ball like crazy.
Hmm.
If you manage to like disrupt him, you disrupt most of the offense for Utah. Because they don't have a third scorer. They have contributors, but not a consistent scorer. Ace Bailey, yeah, he's nice, but he's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
Like I don't to me it doesn't matter what pick you get drafted in. You're still a rookie. You got a lot to learn about this league, so it's gonna take time. So I don't think Ace is going to just pop off for like 30.
Hmm.
Watch me get mean for that. But
Yeah, we'll have to
but
clip that.
yeah, but it's just more so focusing on the stars, and
Hmm.
if you can disrupt them, then I think you have this game in the bag.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and like you said, Keontae George is playing at a very high level right now. It's funny. I saw this clip. They asked LeBron if he's playing like an all-star, and Bron's like, "I'm not the guy to ask for that anymore. I just watch YouTube golf now." I'm like tuned into Bryson DeChambeau and all these guys. But no, Keontae definitely deserves his flowers. He's playing well, and yeah, I mean, to me, for the Magic, like you said, you gotta disrupt him. Is Lowry Markkinen playing? That I mean, that's he's a walking 30-point scorer right there. So you gotta limit him if he comes back. You need more from Desmond Bane. You need more from the whole starting lineup, with the exception of a few guys, because even for Anthony Black last night, who finished with 22, he's a -5. The only starter in the Magic lineup last night that finished with a positive plus minus, I believe, yeah, was Wendell Carter Jr. He was a +7. So it's like on the floor, like you really got to limit those opportunities for this Jazz team because they're hungry. They can kind of circle early on here that, like, hey, that we're not, no disrespect, we're not the Washington Wizards. This isn't a lost season yet. We can pull ourselves out of this and get to a point where we're, at 500 or above 500. So we'll see what happens. But my man, Anthony A., thank you for joining me. This has been a very fun first episode of Full Court Magic. And to all the Magic fans that will be joining us for the rest of the season and beyond, we're so excited to have you soon. I'll be introducing you to my other colleague, Andrew Cherico, who's been helping out and doing a great job covering the Magic as well. And we'll definitely have Anthony on again. And we're looking forward to it, guys. So, everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.